Hey, everybody. Welcome to the TEConnect podcast. I'm John Martin.
And I'm Dean Reverman.
All right, Dean, we're going to give the people what they want once again.
Yes.
Which is data and analysis from our VARs actual customers, the end users.
Yes, I like this.
Now, if you recall, we did this maybe a month or two back. We did our POS survey. We did a deep dive into some of the insights we learned out of that. Well, there's actually a survey we had done before that one for our new BlueStar Nation blog with warehouse managers.
Yes.
So today we're going to get into that one a little bit further.
Yep, good stuff.
We're going to talk about stuff like, we're going to talk, first of all, how we did the survey so you understand the
our
analysis.
methodology?
Our methodology. I know you always love talking about methodology for any survey or study that's done. We're going to talk about the biggest problem areas for warehouse managers. We're going to talk about their top tech issues and what kinds of tech that they would like to implement or upgrade.
I like it.
We know the warehouse space can be a little difficult to break into. Supply chain in general can be a little slow to make changes. So at least maybe we can weaponize you a little bit.
There you go.
To
Arm
go
them
out
with information.
Go out there, and at least know what your customers are saying and talking about and what probably matters to them. So maybe you can start those conversations.
I like it. I like it a lot.
All that plus our usual value to the VAR and what's tech connecting with us. It's time to plug in and get connected.
Welcome to the TEConnect podcast. It's time to get connected.
All right, Dean. So, as I mentioned, this was another survey that we did for our new BlueStar Nation blog. It's not really new at this point.
It's not new anymore.
Newish enough.
Yeah, newish. Yeah.
Check out the link in the show notes, one directly to this particular article, so you can read along with us or follow or get some a little more depth and insight after you listen. And if you're not already, subscribe to BlueStar's newsletters, so you will be on the list for the website. And anytime we post new articles there, we're trying to post a couple articles every quarter or so. Yes, we'll ping you and let you know when they're out there. And we're really trying to do some good deep dive stuff. Like some really insightful stuff.
Meaningful
not just
stuff.
Random content. We want it to be meaningful. So that's why we're doing stuff like these surveys where we actually reach out to actual end users and customers to get their feedback on things. So
I like the way we set this up. I mean, the cost associated with a reseller trying to go out there and do some data or some research like this. I mean, you're going to get the the little bit of research that you do with your customers and stuff like that. But whether or not you're really getting the truth, it's probably going to be a little biased towards your solution and stuff like that. We are really trying to help you, arm you with some information here that is that you really can't get or you couldn't afford to get. I mean, we got 36 warehouse managers to respond to this. How are you going to go out and spend money and go out and travel and find and talk to 36 warehouse managers? No, that'd be really expensive to do. So anyway,
exactly, we did it for you, and we did it for free.
Yeah,
there's literally in the article up front, it tells how much you probably have to spend to go out and get this kind of insight. So,
absolutely.
And again, we're doing it for you. So yes, as Dean mentioned, we ran a Facebook ad to warehouse managers. We offer them a $15 gift card for their time.
Little incentive for their time.
They had to answer 5 questions through a chatbot. These were all U.S. respondents that we got here, 36 in total from a variety of industries throughout. So they were all supply chain warehouse managers from a variety of different industries, food and beverage, consumer goods, lots of different stuff. So a wide variety of different types of managers. Let's get into some of these findings here. So our first major question was the biggest problem area. So we asked, what was their biggest problem area in their business right now? This was a multiple choice question. And we're not surprised by this, but 50% said inventory and cycle counts were their biggest problem area. Again, not necessarily surprising. I think if you've spent any time in this industry, especially now where supply chain is ramped up and at its wit's end basically, and we're all demanding more stuff and faster than ever before, kind of makes sense. To give you a little bit of insight, the next 3 highest on the list were 22% said picking, 17% said put away. Again, not too surprising either of those, and 11% receiving. Most said they were already using mobile or truck-attached computers. We asked for a little more insight. Like after we, asked that initial question, we gave, some little open form, give us a little more insight into your business. Most said they were already using mobile or truck-attached computers, which I think is interesting because that's something that we're usually going out there and trying to talk to them about, and a technology that you're probably trying to sell on a regular basis.
That's right.
And as for reasons why they thought, their biggest problem was a problem. And again, these were all the ones that responded with the inventory cycle counts. Most of the reasons the highest reasons we saw were no inventory software, too much inventory, incorrect data, the time it takes to do counts, and location errors. All right, so Dean, break this down for us. What do you
Lots to
seeing
unpack. All right, I'm
here?
going to go back up though and talk about the demographics of who answered this, because a lot of this survey to me kind of just reinforced some of the things that we've talked about, and one of them is key in this SMB market. So when you look at the respondents to this particular survey, almost half of them are work for companies that are 100 employees or less. So these are small to medium-sized businesses, right? These are the folks that, quite honestly, are probably using Excel, or they're not using any type of automation. So when you look at when 50% of the people are saying that inventory and cycle counts are their biggest problem area, to me, they're probably not using any kind of automation. They're probably not using barcode scanning. They're probably not using mobile computers or anything like that. You know, they have to go around and do cycle counts with a clipboard and something along those.
Or if they're using that tech, they're probably using just a piece of it. Like maybe they have the barcode scanning, but they're manually downloading and feeding it to spreadsheets or something like that. Something very basic.
Well, and I think you're hitting the nail on the head, because when you look at the reasons why these are big problem areas, when you get into such things as too much inventory, well, that's telling you that obviously the operation is inefficient, or it's not connected. So if they're doing cycle counts, it's not connecting over to the purchasing or the buying department that's buying, right? Or there's too much of a lag time there. There's too much of a disconnect there. So there's buying going on, but now we've got too much inventory. Did anybody look at our cycle counts? You know, kind of a thing. Didn't they see that we already had 100 of these on the shelf, and why do they order 500 more of them? We'll never get through this stuff. So, I mean, that's clearly an indicating that really the SMB market, and I think that you and I have talked about it, really that feels like where there's a lot of opportunity out here still. In the marketplace is where these manufacturers, where this supply chain, wherever the supply chain is, doesn't have to be manufacturers. If they're a smaller size company, they're probably not doing this kind of stuff. And so it's glaring when 50% of them say inventory and cycle, right? That's like basic stuff. That's basic warehouse management is like your inventory and cycle count. I mean,
like what else do you actually do here? You know, like,
I mean, I know that, right. Yeah. They're manufacturing, they're picking, they're packing it or whatever, and they're shipping it. But man, that's basic 101. So, but when you then a couple other things that I pulled out of here. Yes, of course, the mobility on trucks. That's really interesting that they're already kind of using that technology. But again, I'm thinking that's probably the larger entities that answered this. You know, those folks that have fairly sophisticated. If you're in a company that's 500 employees or more, I mean, that's a pretty serious organization. They probably are investing in somewhat of a sophisticated warehouse management system along the way. So picking is a big problem area. I mean, I guess we're never going to get away from that. Put away, again, you know, gets into the whole receiving things and things of that nature. But, you know, when you think about it, you know, when you think about some of the things, some of the edge technologies that we've been talking about on this show, like robotics, for example, I think that robotics, not on the SMB market, well, maybe someday it's going to get there, can really help to solve some of these big problem areas, right? I mean, if you're doing cycle counts that you can really rely on robotics to do that, then that's going to be a solution that's going to win. If that is a huge pain point, as big of a pain point as it is, and as perplexing as it is that it's a pain point for us, you know, those types of technologies, automation through robotics,
not something you have to devote
things,
manpower to.
It's gonna win. It's gonna win, because if it can solve that problem, it's gonna win.
I agree. You know, and to the point also of like the mobile or truck attached computers already in use. I found that interesting as well, because even though most people said they had something like that, I would be willing to bet that a lot of that is still some very outdated technology. There was we had a quote in this article from Justin Griffith, who you might remember being on the podcast probably over a year ago now from Stay Linked, who had kind of talked with us a lot about the idea that a lot of warehouse and distribution and supply chain managers are very, very slow to move to new technology, in part because it's so difficult to stop operations to make the kind of changeovers necessary. So I would venture that a lot of the customers that mentioned they were already using that stuff are probably using some very outdated technology that's still, you know, operating on like green screens, is not appified, is not touch technology.
But they think they're whiz bang. They think they're up.
They think they're up to date, but they're probably still far behind. And I would venture that if you talk to someone and they tell you like, oh, we're already using that, have a little bit more of an in-depth conversation about what exactly are you using, you know. And if they tell you it's some old symbol model or something, you know, you probably know, like, all right, you could be doing something a little bit newer and up to date here.
Yeah.
But it's good to know that, like, your customers are probably already maybe think they're already a little more embedded in mobile technology. But again, do a little more of a deeper dive there. Don't just settle for their word on that.
Yep. Good.
All right, well, let's get into then the next question was the top tech issue. Now, we left this as an open response field. So it means
I didn't know that.
We
So
got quite a few different responses here to this, and you'll see some of those listed out in the article. But the widest number of responses that came in. The number one was connectivity as being the number one response that we got. Again, this is an open field to respond, and yet something related to connectivity, whether it was connectivity between devices, connectivity between different departments, something about how data was getting connected and relayed around the facility and to worker and through their systems was the number one issue, which again is probably not surprising, but at the same time, it's nice to know that when you give them the option to just answer freely on their own, that was something that most people came up with.
It is.
A couple of other top tech issues that came up pretty frequently were bad inventory systems and software, which is again connected right back to our biggest problem area. Outdated systems, again, something we know a lot about is an issue in supply chain, and hard to train or tribal knowledge, meaning that the systems that they have in place are either hard to get people trained on, takes too long to do the training potentially to get someone up and running, or something where there's a lot of tribal knowledge happening in the department where only select few people know everything there is to know about a particular system, which means you're very reliant on them being there. You're reliant on them being employed there, and potentially you struggle with having folks that can potentially replace them or come in and assist with their jobs when they're not there. So, give us your thoughts on all of this.
Well,
Steve.
let's keep going on that last one there, the training aspect, because there's an opportunity for resellers, right? They have the ability now to, with that knowledge, if you don't have some kind of ongoing training as a part of your services, you're missing the boat, because there is an opportunity there, and I would think that resellers know this, you know, especially their component of a particular solution. You know, you keep people trained on it. People are very transient in these industries. They're typically warehouse workers. You know, a lot of them aren't there for, you know, many years. So you've got a lot of new people.
Maybe a lot of seasonal help too.
Seasonal, 100%, absolutely. So, you know, keeping up on the training, having that part of your value add is going to win the day. It's going to keep your system relevant. And by the way, you're going to help your customer, because man, oh man, when I heard you talking there, I'm thinking to myself, a lot of these are Frankenstein systems, right? Like they've got components here, components there. And as a company, as they've grown, they've just kind of bolted things together, and it can look kind of ugly, you know, to a lot of degrees. So you have to stay connected and stay in the train and stay in, because other good things will come out of that. Other opportunities for you to expand your solution will help there. And anyway, so again, yet another area where this survey reiterates to me some of the biases or some of the understandings that I had in the marketplace. Another thing, though, when you get into it, is that, you know, the opportunity for networking. So when we have that many people freely bring up connectivity, and I hear you on the connectivity in the departments, but I'm going to go on the connectivity on the technology.
Just the basic tech, a lot of, you know, Wi-Fi,
drop zones,
Bluetooth,
unreliable wireless connectivity was really kind of combed out here. You know, we had quite a few of those responses, and man, to me, that's like, if you're a reseller and you don't really have a good knowledge of networking, basic networking, and can't offer that, or don't really have that in your purview, I think you're missing out on an opportunity here. I mean, you got to know these types of things.
Because what good are all these awesome new solutions and cloud solutions and, you know, connected solutions and everything?
And you got drop zones over here. And you got,
feeding into ERPs and whatnot. What good is all of that if someone on one side of the warehouse just can't even get a signal?
Yep. And I also thought it was, I'm going to go back to the Justin Griffith, because we have some nice audio clips in here too. So I would highly recommend people go look at this article and listen to the clips. I think he had a really good take on one of his questions, is that modern and updated means simpler and easier to use, right? And more intuitive. It's not an age thing, right? Like it's not that older people within the organization or whatever are, you know, bumbling on the technology. It's a people thing, is what he's arguing, is that, you know, the solutions need to be intuitive, they need to be simple and easier. That's what you should be driving to, is simplicity and ease. And when you think about it, you know, networking pulls into that. Everything's got to be connected. You got to understand that portion of it. It's got to be easy to use, and you got to be able to train people to use it on an ongoing basis. To me, that really kind of pulled out of this technology-related issue question.
I agree.
Yeah. So good stuff in there.
Yeah,
man.
I definitely agree. And I think, you know, the connectivity one, you're right. It's kind of a no-brainer to me. It's, you know,
why does it keep coming up in this industry?
I don't know. Like, for one, it should be anything you're selling should be an interconnective system that's working with everything they currently have, or ideally replacing everything they currently have if you're really lucky.
Right.
And yes, and I think the networking aspect too is, you know, if anyone's telling you at any point, well, we have trouble getting signal over here, it seems like everything's slow over on this side of the warehouse, that should just set off the flags for you of like, hey, we need to start talking some networking. Even if it's not your specialty, find a partner whose specialty it is, and make sure you're bringing them into those conversations too.
Because it's going to reflect badly on your overall solution, right?
Exactly.
And now they're stuck with a system that they don't think is very good, obviously, right? So
exactly.
Not good.
All right, the last question we had, and this was another open field one, is what tech would you like to implement and upgrade? Basically a wish list. You know, if money were no object, what would you be spending money on and upgrading in your environment? Now, WMS was number one, which is probably what we would expect there. Some of the other ones that came up, and again, we're tying back into some stuff we've already talked about here, upgraded internet and connectivity. So again, that's something I think I would hammer home on, is if you have the opportunity to make those upgrades for them, it sounds like a low-hanging fruit right there to get involved in. The other two were barcode scanners and RFID, which again tells me that you've got folks that just aren't up. I mean, at this point, barcode scanners is starting to feel like the kind of basic level technology. You know, it's not old tech, but you know that you should.
It's the foundational
the most
brick.
Basic kind of inventory management technology.
No, it's not. Though.
Should at least
it is in our world,
right?
But, you know, it's just so many, it's not.
Exactly. So if they're telling you they don't even have that again should be like, well, I've got an opportunity right here. And then again, RFID, you know, again, we know that one's one where there's room for growth there. So what did you think about this? Did anything really shock you here on, you know, where they would spend their money on tech if they could?
No, again, and when you look at the demographics of the people that have answered this survey, it's not a huge surprise here that WMS would be the big one, because clearly those folks aren't using it, but they maybe have been exposed to it in other jobs that they've had or something like that, and they see the value behind that. The good news here is that there's opportunity, and I know a lot of VARs might be rolling their eyes and saying, you know, there's no opportunities in these small one-off ma and pa shops. There are. You know that there's solutions out there that can be implemented very, very quickly, and even in a SaaS model that gives you a recurring revenue over time, increasing the value of your business. It is out there. So it's not surprising to me that the WMS and the updating and the LAN are the two big things. I was very surprised, though, honestly, on the last one in the survey. Mailtube System. It's like, how old? You know, I love this survey because
was one person that responded to that, but
but I mean, it's giving you the spectrum of really what is out there in the marketplace. I mean, here we sit up on this high hill saying, oh, you know, we're talking about robotics and RFID and
high-tech networking,
to the cloud.
Drones, you know, all this
dude,
stuff,
if we just had a better Mailtube system. I mean, come on. But there is a gleaning. To me, that's like, see, I'm telling you, there's a spectrum of users out there. And we need to service these communities as well. Now, we don't sell Mailtube systems, so I'm sorry. We're not going to be able to help with that. Maybe if there's a reseller.
Hey, one of our VARs might be able to help out with that.
Oh, I'm sure there is. Yeah, for sure.
Oh, yeah. I thought that was interesting, too. Like, I was looking through, because I went with the top ones intentionally, because some of the, as you get towards the bottom, I mean, robots was mentioned as one of the ones. You know, a couple people said that. You had stuff like dimensioning systems, forklifts, which again, I was like, man, like, you don't even have forklifts? Like, I'm sorry, you know, like.
But let's go back to the other one, though, dimensioning systems. I'm surprised that's maybe not a little bit higher. That obviously that's getting into a sophistication of your WMS that's pretty high tech. I mean, if you're scanning boxes to get the dimensions of it when you're either receiving or exiting, I mean, that's high level stuff. But to me, that would probably be a wish list of a lot of warehouse managers, right? Is how can I make my organization more efficient? I would have thought that something like that. It'd be interesting if we took the same survey 2-3 years down the road, when maybe some of that's getting out of what I'll call the high end, warehouses, and kind of trickling down into some of the other areas, because that is a very efficient technology where you can really automate a lot of the inbound stuff. in a lot of the data that is collected through a dimensioning system. So anyway, yeah, I'm glad it made the wish list, but I was kind of surprised it was so low, right next to Mailtubes, for crying out loud.
Maybe it's one of those things someone just didn't know how to think of it, or maybe it's one of those things that just someone just didn't realize that they needed. You know,
right?
That there was
that's a good point.
I mean, that can be it too. Sometimes your customers don't know what technology actually is available to them to know that they should even be asking for it or putting it on the wish list.
Well, that's part of your job as a value-added reseller, and that's why we do things like VAR Tech and the shows and this podcast is trying to expose you to some of the things that are happening on AI and in the cloud and on the edge and all these kinds of things, because it's your job to walk in there. You don't know. If you run the quick analytics, I guarantee you, in most of these shops, you can show them an immediate ROI.
Yep.
You know, whether it's through labor savings, you know, and not to go that we want to, you know, cut jobs, but we all know, again, it's a transient world there. And if, 2 years down the road, you have a little bit less staff, but you've automated that and made the system that much more efficient. That's what you should be
and we've talked about that before too, that it doesn't necessarily mean cutting jobs. It can sometimes mean just making everyone more efficient.
Bingo.
You know, you cut out a walk time, you know, from one station to another by having a robot that's moving stuff between stations. You know, anything that you can do that can cut down on their lack of productivity and make them more efficient. You can have the exact same workforce, but suddenly have a 100, or 50% higher output just because you're making them more productive and more efficient. So.
Bingo. And you need to have those that's exactly the angle. I mean, your end user, they're growing, right? I mean, talk to me about a company owner that says, no, we don't want to grow.
Especially in warehousing and supply chain.
Yeah. I mean, they're growing. So if they can, their output can go up 20% with the same crew that they have. You know, I mean, these are no-brainer ROI discussions that folks need to be having. And this survey is backing that up.
Yep.
Yeah. So.
All right. Well, hey, before we wrap this up with some value to the VAR, maybe a strong takeaway recommendations that we have from this survey. And again, we recommend you go check out the article, comb through that data yourself, and make some of your own insights. But we'll give you a couple here in a moment. Before we do that, as always, we want to thank our TEConnect sponsors. We appreciate your support of the show. We could not do this without our wonderful sponsors that support the podcast in general and the TEConnect program overall. As always, if you like the show, please make sure you are hitting the like button on if you're watching us on YouTube, leaving us comments. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Subscribe to any of us anywhere you get your podcast. Subscribe to us there. If you have the opportunity on your podcaster or podcatcher of choice to leave us a rating and review, please do that. We'd love to see some 5-star rating and reviews.
Yes.
I just want to hear from folks. I want to know what you think of the show. Like, even if it's just a simple like, hey, you guys are awesome. Or, if you don't like us, just send us an email and tell us that. Don't leave that on the platform, because maybe we can talk to you and find out what we can be doing a little differently.
Right,
We're always open to doing things differently, making changes. But we do want to hear from you. Of course, as always, too, if you have ideas for the show, let's say you have some ideas for podcasts you'd like for us to do, topics you want us to cover, some experts you'd like us to bring on, maybe more of these kind of surveys.
Yes.
We want to do more of this kind of stuff, because this is valuable insight and data that, again, we want to be able to do for you on your behalf, provide to you for free.
So how can we turn on our machine for, on a survey that you want to do?
Exactly. Who do you want us to talk to? What end users do you want us to gather data from and learn from? You can submit all those ideas to us. If you go to the show notes right now, the same place where we've got the link to this article, you will find a link to submit your ideas for the podcast. And just for doing that, even if we do not use your idea, we will give you a TEConnect podcast t-shirt.
There you go.
It's a nice shirt. It's comfy. It's warm. It's it's a good kind of shirt that you're going to want to wear
add to your wardrobe, and you will. Yeah,
exactly.
We wear it.
You can have awkward conversations about what's a TEConnect podcast. What are you talking about? But just geeky, just give us an idea, and we will send you a t-shirt. And if we use your idea on the show, maybe we will reach out to you and ask what your feedback and what you want to talk, what you want us to talk about, what questions you have. Maybe even bring you on the show if you're up for that. So please send us those ideas. And as always, if you want to stay in touch with us, you can always find us on Twitter at TEConnectPod. You can also email us, TEConnect@BlueStarInc.com. All right, Dean, let's wrap up here. First of all, let's talk about the value to the VAR here. And this is our segment where we like to take what we've talked about and condense it into a takeaway for our VAR audience, something they can do. So what would you, if you were a VAR, What would you do with the information that we've shared today?
I don't. Well, knowledge is power, always to me. I mean, you know, if you're a reseller, just knowing some of these basic facts that many small businesses don't have the hardware tools that they need. There is opportunity in those SMB marketplace. Don't be shy. Don't roll your eyes at those opportunities. They're definitely there.
Yep.
Understand that a lot of times, even though you may think that you've done the greatest job ever implementing a system, the moment you walk away, there's ongoing trainings, there's ongoing needs. So as a reseller, you gotta add that to your overall value add mix. If you're not doing it today, you really need to get in. So those are the two big ones.
Yep.
That I would say from a reseller perspective.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think also it's paying attention to the fact that, again, we have this wide variety of different types of warehouse managers from a lot of different industries. And as you mentioned earlier, more than half of them were small. And I think, again, we've established many times over on this show with a lot of different guests that getting warehouses to change technology, to make moves is very difficult. I would venture to say that the smaller the business is, the easier it's going to get, though, because they're going to be more, again, the operation may not be so massive that it's harder to make those changes and more gets disrupted if they do, but also that I think they're going to be a little more receptive because, again, we've established here in this that a lot of them may be using some very outdated technology.
Oh, yes.
They may be using very little technology at all.
Absolutely.
And all this stuff is on their wish list. And I will point out also, we were talking about the WMS, for example. That's one where that was the number one, the number one wish list item. I would venture that a lot of those answers, I think 16 out of the 36 said that was their number one wish list item. I would venture that a lot of them that said that probably already have some sort of WMS in use, but just aren't happy with it. Because the question was, either implementing or upgrading.
Ah, gotcha.
I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of them weren't happy with it, and probably a lot of the reason behind that was probably the implementation was flawed.
Yes, right.
Either someone came in and just did a dump it on them with minimal training, minimal connectivity, dumped it in their lap, said good luck, and walked off. Again, we've established many times over, a smart VAR these days is someone that is embedded in their tech process and in their tech life all throughout.
Yes.
You don't go in there, sell them something, wash your hands, and show up 5 years later to see if you can sell them something new. If you are, you're probably not going to be in business with them for very long. Or in business, period, for very long.
Yeah, right.
But if you are someone who's walking in and saying, hey, I want to help you do this, we're going to help train all of your employees on this, we're going to help train new employees as they come in, we'll show up for your seasonal help and train them, we're going to do all this stuff for you, we're moving you to cloud-based solutions so we can make updates behind the scenes, not interrupt your process. If you're helping them out and helping them understand the services that you bring in, this whole package that you're bringing in, it should be a little bit of a lighter lift. And I guarantee you, if they've got something that exists in place already that they're not happy with and they're looking to upgrade, you will probably come off as looking dynamite just for being willing to come in and do the legwork.
Right? Yes. So, yeah. And be the good partner that you should be.
Exactly.
For sure. Yeah.
So it's all about, I think it's all about partnerships here, like really being able to go in and saying, hey, we want to make this happen for you, and we'll make it as smooth and seamless and easy for you as possible because we know you got a lot of stuff going on.
Absolutely. So really, folks, you should be reading this article. Keep going to the BlueStar Nation because this is the type of content we're trying to enable you with so that you can make good business decisions and have the right knowledge when you're walking in and helping your end user, your customers out.
Agree.
Yeah,
exactly.
For sure. Yeah.
All right, let's wrap up as always with what's tech connecting with us.
Yes.
This is the segment where we get to talk about something in the world of science, tech, business innovation, something that's caught our eye, has our attention, something we're excited about, or something that's
I'm cringing,
dooming us. Oh, you got a cringe one today?
I don't know. So, do you like covert surveillance?
I'm not a big fan of it.
Oh, come on! You're a movie goer, right? You don't like these movies where it's like covert ops and like out the chess game and
sure,
outthinking.
The French Connection's a fun movie to watch, but I don't want to live that life. I don't want to be surveilled all the time.
I still continue to be worried about China, and some of their covert surveillance.
Okay.
So here is the headline: a damning FBI probe reveals extensive Chinese espionage efforts, including a $100 million garden in the nation's capital, capable of covert surveillance and the potential Chinese-made telecom equipment to disrupt the U.S. nuclear arsenal.
Okay, man.
So the reason
that was like 7 cringy, terrifying buzzwords in a row.
When I read that, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's like a movie, right? I mean,
no
like,
doubt.
oh, how are we gonna, whatever you name the plot, and the plot thickens in the sense that, oh, they're gonna, dude, this stuff is real though. Okay, so here it is. On paper, it looked like a fantastic deal. In 2017, the Chinese government offered to spend $100 million to build an ornate Chinese garden on the National Arboretum in Washington, D.C., right? So they offered it up, and the deal started progressing.
It's a total Trojan horse here, isn't it?
Oh, yes, complete with temples and pavilions and a 70-foot wide Patagonia, or pagoda. I'm sorry, one of those, things.
Right.
And the project was thrilled by local officials and stuff like that. But then the U.S. and counterintelligence came in and said, hold on just a second. That pagoda, they noted, was being strategically placed on the highest point of this thing so it could monitor signals from Washington, D.C. Not good. Also alarming, though, the Chinese officials wanted to build that pagoda with materials shipped to the U.S. in diplomatic pouches that the U.S. Customs can't go into those diplomatic pouches. So, I mean, this is a movie, right? Like,
yeah, it totally is.
And this stuff is going on, though. So, thanks, China, but we don't want your $100 million.
Spies coming soon, starring The Rock.
But then it just keeps unraveling from there. There's even more in this article. I don't have time to go through it, but everything from, China, like, donated cameras to, I forget the Midwestern, it was whatever. It was like in Colorado or something like that.
Right.
Cameras so that you could watch. It was for traffic control, right? And so just you're out in the middle of nowhere, and there are these cameras that can do traffic control. Oh, by the way, they're also could document some of our military movements between things. It's like it just goes on and on and on, and all these little areas that it's just when you take a step back and think about it, it's like, oh my gosh, we don't have a chance. Or I'm glad there's people out there that
are we mad that they're doing it, or are we mad that we didn't do it first?
Well, I'm sure we've got similar efforts, maybe somewhere, but it brings a whole new context. And I don't know, and I don't want to get into the whole thing. I'm not trying to gin something up here or anything like that, but it is concerning when some of these things happen. And I'm glad those guys are obviously busy. Guys and gals on counterintelligence are like,
yeah, when our biggest world competitor is saying, hey, we'll give you something for free that happens to involve a lot of technology that could be used for very bad purposes. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
24,000 pieces of communications equipment that can help you? It's like, oh my gosh. And so then they just passed a bill of $1.9 billion to remove that. Then you get into all the government red tape, and that it hasn't actually happened. So all these things are still. It just goes on and on, man.
I think we just should assume at this point that everyone's always listening and watching to everything we pretty much do.
Yeah, but when you get into like military secrets and stuff like that, that's
not stuff we want people listening to.
No, right. Yes, it's out there. Anyway,
man.
So there's my downer.
All right, there's a little doom and gloom. All right, well, I actually have a tech beef.
Ooh, a beef, yes.
We just had our tech beefs episode.
Yes.
This is actually something I think I've riffed a little bit on this before, and I just keep spiraling down the rabbit hole here.
Okay,
all right,
fair enough.
I mentioned on our last episode that we had built a new house. It's been like 4 years ago now, I guess.
Yep.
And one of the when we built it, we had bought a refrigerator. We had to buy a new refrigerator. It wasn't part of the original house build. It was something we bought to have installed. And so we had a refrigerator put in, not a super, high-tech, fancy fridge, and I'm not going to call out the manufacturer, although I will not buy from this manufacturer ever again because of this. We've had nothing but issues with this fridge over time. And basically what it's come down to is that had we bought a Wi-Fi enabled fridge, we probably would have been able to stay on top of some of these issues and get alerts and stuff about things. But because we don't, we're always having to bring a technician. So just this last week, I had to bring a technician in for, I believe, the 4th time.
Oh, come on now.
4th or 5th time in this fridge's life. I've probably, we're getting to the point where I've probably spent more on repairs than the fridge was even worth. If it happens again, I'm probably just going to say it's time to get a new fridge.
Yeah, right.
So this technician comes in, and this guy, he's been there enough now that he knows us. Like, he calls me up, and he's like, hey man, what's going on with the fridge this time, man? I mean, I was just there a couple months ago. I'm like, yeah, I know. So this time, the freezer's not working. The freezer just stopped working. Thankfully, I've got a chest freezer in the basement that I could move the frozen stuff to. So he comes out, and he literally, all he has to do is he plugs a little device into the USB on the top, does a quick little scan of his computer. He was gone within like 10 minutes. He's like, yeah, here's your problem. The fan's out. I'm going to have a new one sent to you. I'll come back in 2 weeks and install, once you've got it or whatever. And he was at least nice enough that he didn't charge me like the service fee for coming out, because it's like over $100 just for him to come and look at it.
Just look at it.
He's like, I'll scrap that. I'll get you like 50% off the part. Like, he's doing everything he can to help us save money, but we're still like shelling out a couple $100 or so or more. Like the last time we had some
four-year-old refrigerator.
Last time it was like a whole new door had to be put on because they had to fix like the water dispenser wasn't working right. The freezers had issues before.
Moly.
And he said, he's like, I keep finding these issues on a lot of this model, and he's like, usually the Wi-Fi models can ping you ahead of time and give you suggestions for fixing things.
He's tech shaming you.
A little bit.
Yeah,
and I'm just like, all right,
you should have upgraded to the
fine.
Wi-Fi
In the future,
version.
I'll get the Wi-Fi version, even though I'm sure that costs like $1,000 more.
Of course, yeah.
But man, I have never, like, again, in my old house that we lived in.
Doesn't it make you want to go back to the old days?
I know, like, I remember
fridges like lasting 30 years.
Yeah.
We vacation up in Michigan, and the guy's had his cabin for a long time. Dude, it has got to be from the 60s.
Yeah.
And it still works. Yeah.
So that's my tech beef, is like this modern tech that just does not live up to it anymore.
It's the disposable nature of some of these things. They used to call those durable goods, right? Durable goods were supposed to last 7+ years.
Right.
Is a durable good now like 24 months? Is that what a durable good is?
I understand a lot of goods now that, yes, are meant to expire. Again, we know that we buy phones, and most of our new technology now is going to be obsolete within 3 to 5 years, let's say.
Yeah, okay, but the phone thing, I was in game because of the battery. But then go ahead.
Right, but but something like a fridge, I should not have to expect to replace that, and have issues within the first couple years.
No,
I mean, I think we were maybe only a year and a half in before we started having issues, and now it's become like in almost every 4 to 5 months there's some kind of new issue with it.
Yeah.
And
it's their SaaS.
How
do they get recurring revenue?
That's not the. There's a tip for you there, VARs. That is not the kind of SaaS model you should be looking for. The screw up as a service should not be your model there. Sorry,
I like it. Yeah. Well, hey, the revenue keeps coming in.
Yeah. If that's how you're making your revenue, you might want to change things a little bit.
Our market share keeps lowering, but the revenue's coming in. Oh, man.
Exactly.
Good stuff. Sorry about your fridge.
That's what's not TEConnecting
Tech beef.
with
there you go.
right now.
There you go.
All right, folks, that does it for us. Until next time, again, subscribe to BlueStar Nation.
Oh, absolutely.
Do not miss
100%.
out on some of this great content. We're going to keep doing these awesome surveys like this. We'll try to do them on the podcast when we can, but sometimes we might not get to them, so you don't want to miss out on those articles. And as always, maybe get a better fridge or something. I don't know, and watch who's donating technology for your garden.
Yes,
I mean, seriously. Here's a free camera from some random foreign power
in a diplomatic pouch.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Just don't. And as always, folks, please stay connected. TEConnect Podcast is brought to you by ELO. Built with versatility in mind, ELO Edge Connect offers a wide assortment of peripheral options for your digital display. Whether for endless aisle, self-order, or collaboration, you can seamlessly attach up to 4 peripherals to the touchscreen edge with flexibility to add, remove, or change later as needed. All right, let's go through the list here.
Holy moly.
Temperature sensors.
Yes.
Status lights.
Check.
3D or conference cameras.
Check.
Barcode scanners.
Check.
Card readers.
Yep.
Collaboration tools.
Yep.
Payment cradles.
Holy, what? Yes.
If you can't find peripherals to meet any customer's needs, you just aren't trying at this point.
We just rattled them all off.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
I mean, seriously, find some connectivity for these displays. Don't just sell the display. Get some connectivity and some peripherals.
100%. Yes.
To learn more, check out the link in the show notes or contact your BlueStar account manager. TEConnect Podcast is brought to you by Zebra. Help your customers keep their supply chains moving and track more assets and inventory with Zebra's effective and dependable RFD90 ultra-rugged UHF RFID sleds. Man, that was a bit of a mouthful there.
Yes.
I got it out. Built to perform reliably in a wide range of demanding environments, the RFD90 is designed for future-proof adaptability and provides wireless connectivity to simplify management and extend usability. Sounds like a lot of those buzzwords from this warehouse survey.
Sounds a little bit familiar, yes.
Yeah.
As a solution to all those issues.
Zebra's durable RFD90 sleds are engineered to withstand everyday use across a wide variety of harsh conditions, including manufacturing, transportation, and logistics environments. Ultra-rugged designs are tested for drops up to 6 feet onto concrete surfaces and sealed against dust and water with industrial-grade IP ratings up to IP65 and IP67. You know, we test those kinds of claims with our proving squad all the time.
Yes, we do.
They do tend to be pretty legit. So
they are.
If you don't already, make sure you're subscribed to our channel and check out the proving squad videos.
Yes, I mean, right? You can see this do those.
They're fun videos too. They're lots of fun. With an industry-leading read rate of 1,300 tags per second, the RFD90 enables rapid inventory counts and increased workflow accuracy. Again, stuff that your customers say they want.
Much more efficient.
The ultra-accurate item finder mode helps workers locate critical items quickly and easily. The tri-function user-programmable trigger, who knew we needed that?
Right?
Offers easy access to RFID reading, barcode scanning, and other features. And don't even get us started on connectivity. Again, top of the list of stuff they want. They want.
Yep.
Zebra mobile computers, third-party smartphones, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi 6 built in. What else
Boom.
could you
It is ready to go.
That's right. So check out the link in the show notes for full specs, use cases, and much more.